What a boring woman. Breaking up was the right choice. He discarded me like trash and then married a beautiful woman. He must be so eager to brag about it. He always looked down on me, saying things like, "Even though you're not pretty, you should at least celebrate your sister's wedding. Don't mind that the groom is your ex." That's what he said. But he's gravely mistaken. What? I don't have a sister, though. What? He seemed taken aback by my words. I don't usually like to do this. But I have to tell him the truth. Even if it ruins his life. My name is Catherine. I'm currently living with my boyfriend, Jack. We've been dating for 3 years now, but there's still no sign of marriage. It's unsettling that even though we live together, he hasn't brought up marriage. Does he really intend to marry me? At first, he was all about getting married before I turned 30, but it turned out to be just a magic phrase to keep me from leaving him. I met Jack when I was 29, working part-time at a restaurant. He came in with some coworkers. My first impression of him was a man with a big attitude and even bigger words. He was bragging about how amazing he was and how he'd become a bigger man. He spoke so loudly that other customers could hear everything. Despite my repeated requests to quiet down, he just glared back. It was the worst first impression. However, Jack started coming to the restaurant regularly. Talking to him, I realized he was surprisingly serious and well thought out. That bad first impression began to fade, and we started talking more. Before I knew it, we were exchanging contact information, emailing daily, and sometimes calling. One day, he suddenly presented me with a bouquet. "I've liked you for a while. Will you go out with me?" Touched by his sincerity, I answered, "Yes." That's how we started dating. Time flew when I was with Jack, and we began living together after 3 months. But now, I think that moving in together was a mistake. If only I didn't have the magic words. "It's over." What? I can't see a future with you anymore. It's better for both of us to end things now. Basically, let's break up now. That's not something you say so casually, right? And to break up without considering my feelings, that's just irresponsible. We've been living together for 2 years, and I've been waiting to get married. We were having this conversation across the table. It was a different scene than usual. But maybe it was just me who felt that way. Because Jack's face, sitting across from me, hadn't changed a bit. He even seemed happy to be breaking up. How could he say such things? He's got a girlfriend in front of him, shocked by the sudden breakup talk. "You've been going on, but I really don't like troublesome women. You're older than me, so I thought you'd say, 'All right then, take care. I need to sleep early for tomorrow.'" Magic words. They were nothing but an illusion. Why didn't I realize it sooner? This man's true nature. Are you listening to me? What more did he want me to say? I sighed and squeezed the words out to Jack. "Fine. We'll break up." That's right, as an older person, you should. So, this is the end of our relationship. There was nothing more to say. I got up to go to the bedroom. "Where are you going?" "To the bedroom, where else?" "What are you gonna do in the bedroom? You're not gonna say you're going to sleep, right?" "Hey, stop joking around. We've broken up, so pack up your stuff and get out of here," Jack said with a smirk. He gestured for me to leave, as if he couldn't wait for me to go. Thinking about how I wasted my precious time on a future with this jerk made me incredibly sad. I held back tears as I packed my things. Then I heard Jack happily chatting on the phone in the living room. "I'm finally free. Now I can come to you with a clear conscience. From now on, I'll always be with you. Love you." Hearing this, I was stunned. It was obviously a woman he was talking to. So that's it. I realized why he suddenly broke up with me. He had another woman. I was just in the way. Behind me, as I packed, Jack was happily talking to some woman on the phone. With each word, tears I'd been holding back fell one by one, trickling down my cheeks. Wiping away my tears, I grabbed a few belongings and left the room, feeling like I was escaping. I couldn't bear it anymore. Packing everything in that situation felt like a cruel joke. Convincing myself it was for the best, I left the apartment filled with memories behind. A month after breaking up with Jack, I threw myself into work to forget the past. I quit the day job at the restaurant and started working full-time as an office employee at the company where I used to work nights. The president, Amy, my friend's sister, started the company alone in her 20s. I had previously turned down her offers to work full-time, always saying, "I'm going to get married and become a homemaker." Thinking back, I feel embarrassed about those words. But that's in the past. What matters now is how I live my life going forward. Happily, meaningfully, and joyfully. Forget the past, just power through with a screw-it attitude. I was determined. But then something happened that shattered my resolve. One day, I came home from work to find a missed call from a familiar number.
Why?
It was Jack's number. I had cancelled my old phone and changed my number the day after we broke up. Yet, somehow, Jack had found out my new number. It creeped me out a bit, but I also felt a slight thrill. Maybe Jack regretted breaking up and wanted to get back together. Perhaps things didn't work out with the other woman? It was wishful thinking, but I still had feelings for Jack. I called back immediately. But he didn't answer.
Why isn't he picking up?
5 minutes later, Jack called again. This time I answered right away, but the call cut off abruptly.
What?
Despite several attempts, he never answered my calls. I gave up and went to bed, leaving my phone on the table. The next day, as I was getting ready for work, Jack called again.
Why now?
I wanted to answer, but I'd be late for work. I could have ignored it, but... Hello? I answered the call. Hey. How've you been? I heard Jack's voice for the first time in a while. I was happy to hear it, but I had something important to say.
After you suddenly broke up with me and kicked me out of the apartment, I became alone overnight. Do you think I've been okay since then? Since that day, I've been...
Stop it. I call you after so long, and you start with such a downer. Can't you be a bit more upbeat?
How can I be upbeat? How can you even say that? It's unbelievable. You have no idea how much I've suffered.
I was infuriated by Jack's insensitive words. He didn't understand why I was angry. And only thought about himself.
Sorry, but I have to hang up now. I've got work.
I know that. That's why I called.
What do you mean?
I was just curious how the woman I dumped is living. Are you crying yourself to sleep, or are you still holding on to some unrealistic hope of getting back together? But too bad. No matter how much you beg, I'm not coming back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jack was just mocking me. I felt foolish for even being slightly happy about his call. Overwhelmed by the absurdity, I couldn't help but cry, even though I had to work soon. As soon as Jack realized I was crying, he snorted and hung up. I felt so frustrated and pathetic. What am I even doing? I wondered why I had to go through all this. The more I thought about it, the more muddled my thoughts became. But after that day, Jack stopped calling. Was it just harassment? But why would he harass someone he broke up with? Unable to understand his actions, I spent my days in turmoil. Then one day, I received a call from an unknown number. Who could it be? The call ended as soon as I answered. A wrong number? But then, calls from the same number began to occur frequently. They came at all hours. Whether I was at work, home, or on my days off. This went on for a month. The calls would end as soon as I answered, and if I called back, it just rang endlessly. These mysterious calls pushed me to the edge. I started losing sleep and even struggled with daily life. My health deteriorated, and I began missing work. Finally, we can't handle this anymore. If you resign now, we can give you a small severance pay. I had no energy to resist. The next day, I left the company with a little severance pay. But the calls from the unknown person continued relentlessly, adding to my stress. And then,
I can't take it anymore.
just as I was about to break down, I received a call from a familiar number. Hello. It was Kathy, my friend from college. We hadn't been in touch for about a year, as we'd both been busy. It's been a while. What's up?
Heard you broke up with your boyfriend.
I tried to sound tough, but hearing her kind voice made all the emotions I'd been holding back spill over. She listened quietly on the phone as I poured out everything. When I finished, she said she had something to tell me. I'm sorry.
What?
I should have reached out to you sooner. Then maybe you wouldn't have been hurt so much.
What are you trying to say?
I didn't understand what she meant. She then revealed something shocking.
No way.
I was shocked too. I mean, I wasn't directly involved, but to think you were going through all that. Why? How? But she spoke calmly, with a firm resolve. I know it's tough. But do you really want to just accept this reality and do nothing? I wouldn't. I couldn't stay quiet after going through so much. What about you? Her words were more reassuring than anything else.
I don't want to either.
I'm relieved to hear you say that. Kathy responded, suggesting we think about the future together.
Sure.
I agreed, and our conversation, filled with strong emotions, continued until morning. 3 days later, I returned to work. Thanks to Kathy, I was able to vent all the pent-up feelings and make a fresh start. My days were busier than before, but they were fulfilling. During that time, I didn't receive any mysterious calls. A month later, something unbelievable arrived from Jack. It was his wedding invitation. Inside was a photo of Jack and his fiancée, Amy.
So it's true.
Though I knew it, seeing it was a different story. And as if he knew I was looking at the invitation, Jack called. Hey, did you see the invitation? You saw the photo, right? Well, that's Amy, my girlfriend, soon to be my wife. She's beautiful and a CEO. A catch you could never compete with. Should I say congratulations? I already knew from Kathy about Jack marrying Amy and his promotion to vice president of her company. So it wasn't a surprise. But for Jack, it wasn't entertaining enough. What a boring woman. It was right to break up with you. He dumped me like trash and was now marrying a beautiful woman. He couldn't wait to gloat. Jack belittled me, saying, even if you're not pretty, you should celebrate your sister's wedding. Don't mind that the groom is your ex. He said so. But he was mistaken. What? I don't have a sister.
What?
Jack sounded confused. I don't really like this kind of thing, but I guess it can't be helped. I have to tell him the truth. Even if it meant destroying his life. I don't even have a sister.
What are you talking about? Have you finally gone crazy?
You're the one who's lost it. Since when did I have a sister? When did I become Amy's sister? Well, you'll figure it out on the wedding day. Think hard about it until then. Good luck with the preparations.
Hey, wait.
I cut off the call and immediately blocked his number. 2 weeks later.
Let's go.
The day of Jack and Amy's wedding arrived. Whether it would be the best or the worst day for them depended on their actions and words. I wasn't sure what would happen, but I was sure it would be the worst. There's no way I would allow that. I couldn't let them off without bringing them down. As I arrived at the venue, I saw a large crowd of guests. Such a huge turnout. Easily over 300 people. No surprise for a CEO and vice president. Among them, a crowd gathered around the bride, Amy. As she noticed me, she approached. Glad you could come. I'm not here to celebrate. Since when could you talk like that? Something must have happened, right? Amy taunted, knowing full well the crowd around us. Amy took Jack away from me and pushed me to the edge. She was the root of all my problems. I was surprised when I found out you were Jack's fiancé.
Are you pleased with yourself for taking Jack away from me? I confronted her. I don't know who told you, but what a rude way to put it. It's not like I stole him. If he came to me after just one physical encounter, doesn't that mean you had no appeal as a woman? Isn't it wrong to blame me without acknowledging your own lack of charm?
Amy retorted with malice. Anger boiled within me at her spiteful words. Then, from the back, I heard Jack's loud voice calling out. I looked over, and there he was, walking towards us slowly. He stopped right in front of me.
How does it feel to see your ex-boyfriend marry someone better than you? He sneered.
Birds of a feather flocked together, indeed. They were similar even in their spitefulness.
I think you're a perfect match. It's rare and amusing to see a couple as rotten to the core as you two. What did you say? Are you mocking me? Getting angry over that? You're more small-minded than I thought. Is that why you kept calling your ex? You must have gotten my new contact information from her.
For the first time, Jack was visibly shaken by being ridiculed. And Amy showed her irritation too. Seizing the moment, I pulled out a voice recorder from my bag and held it in front of them.
What's that? Don't you know? A recorder, isn't it?
Correct.
This recorder has everything. Your harassment, misuse of company funds, and bad-mouthing business partners. If I release this, it's over for both of you.
They were speechless at this unexpected bombshell.
Nothing to say? If you remain quiet, I might just play it right here. Hey, stop it! Please, don't!
Jack and Amy frantically tried to stop me. In the scuffle, the recorder fell and turned on, broadcasting their misdeeds loudly.
This isn't us!
Jack protested, but the gathered guests started to close in, wondering what was happening.
Don't come! Hey, you! Stop it now!
Amy screamed louder than the recorder, urging it to stop. Jack lunged to grab it, but I picked it up first. He came at me furiously. But then it was. Stop this right now, a loud voice resonated through the venue. Everyone turned towards the voice. And there stood a woman with a commanding presence. Gracefully dressed and walking with poise. She walked leisurely, wearing a gorgeous dress. The guests made way for her, captivated. Even Jack was no exception. She's beautiful. Who could she be? Everyone wondered, watching her approach us. And then, she reached us.
Long time no see, Amy. Catherine! What are you doing here?
It was Kathy.
A wedding, huh? Who would have thought my sister would get married? Life is full of surprises, isn't it? What are you doing showing up now? You're not here to sabotage me, are you? I wouldn't do that. But I couldn't forgive you for hurting my dear friend, so I had to come.
Kathy replied, her words laced with anger. Amy's face showed fear upon hearing Kathy's words. Meanwhile, Jack, who had been watching the exchange, timidly approached Kathy.
Are you a friend of Amy's?
Nice to meet you, groom. I'm Amy's sister, Catherine.
Sister? Such a beautiful sister.
What?
But I heard you said Amy's sister was unattractive.
Kathy shot back, and Jack, completely smitten by her beauty, was speechless.
Are you listening?
Shocked by her words, Jack finally regained his composure.
Wait, what? I thought...
He stammered, pointing at me.
I'm not her sister. You just got it wrong. Her real sister is Catherine. Catherine?
Jack was stunned upon realizing the truth. It would also be so. Kathy and I shared the almost same given name, hometown, and even age. The biggest surprise was that we both lost our parents when we were young. The only difference was in the spelling of our names. Our first meeting and the discovery of our shared background. It is unforgettable. It was like a miracle. Jack stood there, dumbfounded by our story. But Amy, unconcerned, pushed past him and confronted me.
I don't care about your meeting. You ruined my wedding, now take responsibility.
But it was all their fault. They even say it's our fault. Amy always thought only of herself. When I think about that, I get an indescribable feeling. But Kathy is probably the one who suffers the most. Kathy, undeterred, fiercely addressed Amy. You haven't changed a bit, always self-centered. You don't care about anyone else as long as you're happy. And the man who chose such a woman is no different. Birds of a feather, right? You're well matched. What's with you? Showing up after so long. Enough is enough. Amy lunged at Kathy. But I stepped in to protect her. Get out of my way. Amy shoved me hard. Ouch! Catherine. At that moment, the voice recorder in my jacket pocket fell to the ground, accidentally playing a compromising recording of Jack and Amy at high volume. Hey! The obscene voices of the two echo inside the venue. Hearing that, Jack, who had been stunned, started to panic as if waking up. What is this? Stop it! Turn it off! Sorry, it seems to be broken. I can't stop it. No way! I said as their incriminating voices echoed throughout the venue, leaving the guests shocked. Unable to bear the humiliation, Jack and Amy fled the wedding venue. Was that okay? I guess so. The wedding is probably cancelled now. They got what they deserved. Yeah, we did what we could. Yeah. Later, we learned that Jack and Amy had to pay a hefty cancellation fee for the hotel. They had invited so many people, it was only natural that it would be expensive. But they did not have the money to pay the cancellation fee. Since their embezzlement was exposed by an employee's tip-off, they ended up facing police charges. Furthermore, the true nature of the two people was revealed by the audio flowing from my recorder. The company went bankrupt, and all their contracts were severed. Their actions came back to haunt them. Meanwhile, Kathy and I grew closer. After everything that happened, I found it hard to be alone without breaking down in tears or feeling anxious. Kathy suggested we stay together, and 3 days later, she arrived with her belongings, saying, "From now on, we'll be together." Now, we live every day happily and contentedly, like real sisters.